mean one thing. Good evening and happy New Year's Eve. I am Richard French, and welcome to this special edition of RFL. We got about only 6 hours left in 2013, and tonight we take a look back at the year soon past, the highlights, and there were plenty of lowlights, and everything in between when it comes to both politics and a little bit beyond. Now, to help us do that, we have assembled a terrific panel, some friends of RFL, and all dressed up here, and only, like I said, a little bit of time till the clock strikes 12. Let's start off with Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Iona College and a professor of campaign management at NYU, and trust me, it'll go downhill from here. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, I'm kidding, Bo, Republican strategist and co-founder of the New York meeting of Brian Murray, and Andrew Whitman, who of course had to be different with his white jacket here, looking sharp though, senior political correspondent. Okay, let's start here on the good side here, the people of the year, and we'll do the good and the bad, but let's start on the high marks here, the people, politicos, and some others who really made this year most notable. And Jeannie, we start with you.
Well, I said, you know, not just following Time magazine, but I did say Pope Francis and Pope Benedict for abdicating, because I really do think they have changed the conversation in terms of the Catholic Church and will have a real impact going forward on public policy around the world.
Not just the church, not just the challenging time, right, but also in just his short time here, how he's changed the dialogue and the expectations, and he's even become part of, you know, political conversations here. It's funny when he's referenced in mayoral races or in, you know, national politics, but he really has.
Yeah, and as some, you know, I work with a lot of Catholic young people at the college, and they really do, you know, see a different, you know, the church is more relevant, I should say, and the conversation coming out of the Vatican is more relevant to their lives than they have in the past. So I think he really has, you know, in a very short period of time, really changed the dynamic.
How about you, Dom?
Nelson Mandela, by far, someone who we lost at the end of the year, but someone that proved that one person can actually change the entire world. 27 years in prison. It started out at a time when his political organization was considered a terrorist organization. He turned that all around with Margaret Thatcher, with Ronald Reagan, and became, you know, an icon throughout the world.
We talked about it. You interviewed him soon after he was released from prison. Did you have any inkling then that his impact wouldn't just be like it was, you know, but 20, 30 years later?
Yes, and the sole reason was the private conversation he had when I asked him, how could you not be angry after 27 years in prison? And he said, young man, for me to be angry, that would be giving in to my captors and giving them power. And that's when I said to myself, none of us at this table, nobody watching this show here on New Year's Eve has the right to be angry at anything.
If not him, then why us? O'Brien.
I did the two popes as well, actually. I think I did it a little bit differently, possibly. I thought the leadership that Pope Benedict showed when he stepped down was phenomenal. To have never had that happen in our lifetimes and for centuries at this point, I thought that was great leadership, saying, listen, it's time to move on. There's somebody better, hopefully, behind me. Not even knowing who that was. Took a major step at that point, and I thought he did phenomenal by stepping down and doing that. And then Pope Francis now, leading by example, not living in the apartment, going and paying his own bill, and then that was the easy stuff, so to speak, and then speaking out in a way that this church hasn't heard for years. In a Catholic high school, Catholic college, I mean, I can only imagine what goes on in the halls of Stepanak now in the conversation when those priests and the men and women, the lay teachers there, they're all fabulous, stand up and say certain things, and the Pope goes, well, maybe it's different today.
You've known you've hit the big time when you and Rush Limbaugh are having a Twitter war. Andrew?
You know, I was tempted to go with Pope Francis. Obviously, he's had a huge impact, and Nelson Mandela, man of every year. I went with Edward Snowden, just to stir things up a little bit. Did a bad thing, no question about it, but to a very good end. And he sparked a debate about privacy and the role of government in this country that is a decade overdue, if not more. I don't think he should be welcomed home. Nobody's going to throw him a ticker tape parade. He is a criminal. But I think he did it on some level for the right reasons, and we are a better nation for what he did and for the debate that he has fostered. And that's going to have an impact in the years to come. His name is not going anywhere for a while.
See, I ascribe the opposite motives to him, and he's on my bad list, but just one punctuation to the Pope, and that is when he was chosen. Do we forget after the conclave, the instinct was, my gosh, they chose somebody again, way up there in years, There's no change here from the church. Everyone was hoping and clamoring here for a different voice from face. Even Dolan here from our neck of the woods, certainly his name was thrown out there. And man, is he surprised. And I really think that as he ended 13, he's made it clear he's going to make his voice and his platform very well heard going into the next year as well here. But I think we forget, even in the short window, just how much he has surprised all of us, even those, I count myself among them, who have been very pleasantly surprised by what he's done. Okay, on the bad list, let's start off, and I'm going to start with you, O'Brien. Andrew mentioned Edward Snowden on the good list. I'm giving him coal in the stocking this year. How about you?
I agree with you and not Andrew. I'm sort of quadri. I'm not sure which way it goes sometimes.
You're conflicted. You don't agree with anybody.
It's your show. I'm with you. No, I think he was a coward in what he did. I think if he was truly an American patriot, he would have come forward and said, here's the problem, and here's what we've got, and gone through either a chain of command or gone through other ways. Maybe gone public with certain things to the press without revealing everything. National secrets, men and women put in harm's way. Discussions we have to have with foreign countries now over how we work with them,
by the way,
diplomacy.
For his own hide here to sell it to the highest bidder.
Sure.
So let's be honest, if his motives were so noble here, he would stand and face the music, and I haven't heard that yet.
And thankfully, he's a man without a country right now. He's in Russia temporarily and trying to go everywhere else he can.
All right. And Dominic, who would you put down on your naughty list this year?
Someone that we all know, and you may say his behavior does not rise to the occasion, but frankly, I'm a little tired of him. Donald Trump. And the reason why I say Donald Trump, let's remember, he's got his TV show and so on, but let's remember, this is the same guy that during 2013 was still talking about where the president is born and whether or not he's an American citizen. And he's the perennial candidate. He's always running for something, never runs for anything. He never met a headline that he didn't like. And let's remember how this year ended. And I have a good relationship with Trump, but
not after this. Maybe 2013. I don't know yet.
But it's time that he sit down, Richard. Yeah. Let's remember how he ended the year. He thinks he's the perfect candidate to run for governor, even better than Rob Astorino from Westchester County. Mr. Trump, you're not the perfect candidate. As a matter of fact, you're a flawed candidate. Stick to your TV show. And you're fine.
That was a famous line, right? The only thing ever runs is his mouth, right?
You better watch Twitter, because he'll be after you on Twitter when he sees this show.
Whatever.
It'll be a heck of a January 1st for you.
I went with the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts.
On the bad list.
Continuing to push the court as right as he can possibly make it, casting deciding votes and forcing, the Citizens United continuation, the McCutcheon case is going to come down next year, and they're going to allow even more money in politics, which is exactly the opposite of what the country needs.
But I know those conservatives aren't doing cartwheels for some of the decisions he's made.
Also,
no, I know, right? But only on
that was Roberts.
Only on very specific terms. And same-sex marriage, even a decision like that a lot of liberals have been celebrating. Very narrowly crafted decision so that it can't be interpreted and has to come back before the court again. I ascribe a lot of the difficulties that we're having right now in the legal system to him.
And you?
I put a few obvious people. One was Anthony Weiner, just because we spent so much time this year talking about him, and it was so tiresome.
So Carlos Danger.
The whole, and I even added there, kind of in the background, Elliot Spitzer and Mark Sanford, because it's the same kind of ickiness. But I also think, and this is terrible to say, but Joe Lhota and Christine Quinn, they ran awful campaigns. And, it's frustrating, I think, for people who thought, for instance, that Christine Quinn had a lot to offer to the city. And same thing for, the very few Republicans in New York City that, Joe Lhota ran the campaign that he did. So I thought all three of them had a bad year.
And there. All right. Now, when we come back on this special year-end edition of RFL, the issues of the year. We talked about some of the people and the personalities, but it was a major issues, for example, same-sex marriage in the courts and the states. How will that rank? We're going to get into that with our panel right after this.